I was 11 days into the job before I found the rule book. That was the worst part. If I had found it on the first night, I could have told myself I was warned. I could have followed it from the beginning. Or better, I could have packed my bag, climbed into the snowcat, and driven back down the mountain before the weather closed in. But I didn't find it on the first night, or the second, or the third. I worked almost half the contract thinking the strange things happening at Summit Station were just isolation, altitude, bad sleep, and old equipment. That is what the station did best. It let you explain things. The job was at a mountain weather station in the northern Rockies, high enough that trees stopped long before the road did. The station sat near the top of Mount Kavanaugh, a blunt gray summit known mostly to pilots, avalanche crews, and weather people who used phrases like wind exposure and rapid pressure collapse, as if those were normal things to build a workplace around. The official name was Kavanaugh High Altitude Observation Site. Everyone called it Summit Station. It was not a research base in the glamorous sense. No big team, no scientists in parkas, no satellite dishes spinning dramatically in blizzards. It was a squat metal building bolted into rock, a generator shed, a radio mast, a fenced instrument field, and a narrow observation deck facing west over a valley so deep that clouds sometimes moved below the station like a second white ground. The contract was 24 days, room included, food included, hazard pay included. That last part should have made me ask better questions. My job was simple on paper: maintain automated weather equipment, manually verify readings twice a day, clear ice from sensors, check the generator and battery bank, log wind speed, pressure, humidity, snow accumulation, visibility, and radio status, then send reports at 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. A trained monkey could have done most of it. That was what the supervisor told me. His name was Barlow, and he drove me up the mountain in a snowcat the color of old mustard. He was a heavy man in his late 50s with cracked hands, a permanent squint, and the habit of answering questions like every extra word cost him money. The ride took almost 4 hours. We climbed through pine forest first, then stunted spruce, then bare rock and snow. The access road was mostly buried, marked by tall orange poles that vanished into fog whenever the wind pushed snow sideways. Below us, the valley disappeared. Above us, the summit looked close for an hour before we reached it. The station appeared out of cloud all at once. Gray metal walls, small reinforced windows, guy wires humming, a red warning beacon blinking on the radio mast, weather instruments turning and twitching in the instrument field like nervous animals. The wind hit when I opened the snowcat door. It shoved the breath out of me and cut through my coat like I had worn paper. Barlow laughed once. "Welcome to the office." Inside, Summit Station was warmer, but not comfortable. One main operations room with monitors, radio equipment, a desk, cabinets, and a wall of old laminated checklists. One bunk room, one tiny kitchen, one bathroom with a shower that worked when the tanks weren't frozen, a generator access hallway, a storage closet, a hatch leading to a crawl space under the main floor. Thick doors, small windows, metal shutters. Everything smelled like diesel, dust, cold metal, and old coffee. Barlow walked me through the equipment, the anemometer mast, the Stevenson screen, the heated precipitation gauge, the snow depth sensor, the visibility camera, the salometer, the barometer cabinet, the radios, the satellite uplink, the emergency beacon. He showed me how to chip rime ice off the wind sensors without breaking them, how to restart the generator, how to switch to battery reserve, how to log manual observations if the automated system failed, and how to call the lower operations office. Report twice, he said. 6 and 6. Don't miss reports. What happens if I miss one? We call. And if I miss that? He looked at me. Then we decide whether you're dead enough to send someone. I thought he was joking. He wasn't smiling. The worker before me had left early. That was all Barlow said at first. Medical issue, he told me while unloading supplies. What kind? Altitude. That common? Common enough. Will he be back? No. There was something in the way he said it that made me stop carrying the crate in my hands. No, as in he quit? Barlow looked toward the instrument field where wind pulled snow across the ground in thin, white streaks. No, as in you've got the contract now. That should have bothered me more. It did bother me. Just not enough. I needed the money. I always needed the money. Before he left, Barlow gave me the station keys, the emergency codes, a satellite phone, and a binder of official procedures. Then he pointed to the west window. The view beyond it was nothing but cloud. Storm pattern coming in around the 12th, he said. 12th day? Maybe earlier. I thought I'm reporting weather, not surviving it. You're doing both. He pulled on his gloves. One more thing. The station makes noise in wind. Don't call about noise unless something breaks. What kind of noise? Whistling, popping, metal flex, mast hum, ice fall. Sometimes the crawl space knocks. The crawl space knocks? Pipes. He said it too quickly. Then he left. I watched the snowcat crawl down the road until the clouds swallowed it. For the first few days, I thought I had lucked into the best bad job I'd ever had. It was lonely, sure, but the station had heat, food, internet that worked in short, bitter bursts, a radio, a stack of old paperbacks in the bunk room, coffee, a view when the clouds cleared that made the whole world look too large to hold grief. The work was repetitive but manageable. Wake before 5:30, check systems, send 6 a.m. report, eat, clear ice, check fuel, log pressure trends, try to sleep, send 6 p.m. report, make dinner, read, listen to wind, sleep badly, repeat. The first strange thing happened on day 4. The barometer dropped too fast, not a little, not within a reasonable storm trend. It fell 12 millibars in 7 minutes. That kind of pressure drop should have come with violent weather, wind, temperature change, cloud movement, something. But outside, the summit was still, not calm, still. The anemometer cups had stopped turning even though the forecast winds were supposed to be 40 knots. Snow hung in the air without falling. Thousands of tiny flakes suspended outside the west window, like someone had paused the world. The pressure graph on the monitor kept dropping. I tapped the screen. No change. I checked the barometer cabinet manually. Same reading. Dropping. The air in the station pressed against my ears. Then the radio crackled. A voice said, "Kavanaugh Station. Report surface conditions." It was not the lower operations channel, at least not the one I'd been using. "Lower ops, this is Kavanaugh," I said. "Pressure reading abnormal. Can you confirm?" The voice interrupted. "Report surface conditions." I frowned. "Visibility suspended." That was the only word I could think of. The radio went silent. Then the same voice said, "Surface not confirmed." The pressure snapped back to normal. Outside, the snow fell all at once. The anemometer spun so fast the mast shivered. I called lower ops. Barlow answered. "Kavanaugh, go." "Did you just request surface conditions?" No. I got a radio call. What channel? I checked. The radio display showed channel 4. 4. Barlow went quiet. Don't transmit on channel 4. You didn't tell me that. I'm telling you now. What is channel 4? Old relay. Then why is it active? It isn't supposed to be. Another silence. Then he said, if it calls again, switch back to channel 1 and log equipment interference. Equipment interference? That's what you log. He hung up. So I logged equipment interference. Because the first time something impossible happens, you can still pretend paperwork is enough to make it ordinary. The second strange thing happened on day 6. I found footprints in the instrument field. That alone wasn't impossible. Barlow had walked there. I had walked there. Snow preserved tracks strangely in high wind. But these footprints started at the weather station door, not outside it, at it, facing inward. A line of boot prints led from the door to the precipitation gauge, then to the anemometer mast, then to the far fence. There they stopped. No return path. No continuation beyond the fence. Just stopped. I stood in the wind with my ice tool in one hand, staring at the last pair of prints. They were larger than mine. Old tread pattern, heavy boots. A person had walked out, checked the instruments, and vanished at the fence. Or the snow had sculpted boot prints. Or I was tired. I chose tired. That night, I heard someone stomp snow off their boots in the entryway. 3 heavy stamps, the exact way everyone does before coming inside. Thud, thud, thud. I was in the operations room. The outer door was locked. The camera showed the entry empty. I sat still for a full minute with my hand on the radio. Then the inner door handle turned once. Locked. A man outside the operations room sighed. Not angry, not ghostly, just exhausted. Then he walked away down the hall toward the storage closet. I searched the station with a flashlight and a wrench. No one. But the floor outside the storage closet was wet with melting snow. The third strange thing happened on day 8. The west window frosted over from the inside. The station was warm. The seals were good. The heater was running. There should not have been frost forming on the interior glass. But shortly after 2 a.m., I woke freezing. The bunk room felt like a walk-in freezer. My breath fogged white. I stumbled into the operations room and found the west window covered in thick white frost. Words had been scratched into it from the outside, except the frost was inside. The words were backward from where I stood, meant to be read from outside the station. Let the weather in. I did not sleep after that. Day 9, I found the first missing page. It was not from the rule book. I didn't know about the rule book yet. It was just a torn sheet tucked behind the official procedure binder. The paper was yellowed and folded twice. On it, someone had written, "If the west glass writes backward, cover it before the wind reads it. No signature, no date, no explanation." I took every spare blanket in the station and covered the west window. The heating system stopped fighting me after that. On day 10, I asked Barlow about the previous worker again. His name had been Lucas Marr. I found that out from an old sign-in sheet in the desk drawer. The current line had my name. Above it, half scratched out, was L. Marr, winter rotation, incomplete. When I asked Barlow about him during the 6 p.m. report, he went quiet. "You found his name?" "Yes." "Forget it. That's your advice?" "That's my instruction." "What happened to him?" "Altitude." "You said that already. Then stop asking." He tried to end the call, but I kept transmitting. "Did he leave anything behind?" Static. Then Barlow said, "If you find personal property, Don't use it. Like what? Clothes, notes, tools, recordings, rule books, silence. I had said it as a joke. Barlow did not laugh. What did you find? Nothing, I'm asking. His voice changed. Do not go into the crawl space. I looked toward the hallway hatch, the one in the floor near the generator access. Why would I? Because Lucas did. The line went dead. That night, the crawl space knocked. Not pipes, not expansion. Knocking. 3 times. Pause. 3 times. Pause. Then 2. Over and over. 3, 3, 2. I lay awake in the bunk room, counting without wanting to. 3, 3, 2. At 4:10 a.m., the knocking stopped. At 4:11, someone under the floor whispered, "Wrong code." Day 11 was when the storm arrived. It came in faster than the forecast. By noon, visibility was less than 50 feet. By 2 p.m., the wind was screaming over the ridge hard enough to make the whole building vibrate. The anemometer froze twice. The precipitation gauge heater failed. Rime ice built sideways on every exposed surface. The radio mast groaned like something alive. At 5:30 p.m., I suited up to clear the wind sensor before the evening report. I opened the outer door and almost lost it to the wind. Outside was white violence, not snowfall. Impact. The world had become moving ice. I clipped a safety line from my harness to the guide rope between the station door and instrument field, lowered my head, and stepped out. It took me 6 minutes to reach the mast. It should have taken 30 seconds. The wind was so loud, it erased thought. My goggles iced at the edges. My gloves stiffened. The instrument field fence appeared and disappeared in white. I cleared the anemometer with the plastic mallet. The cups spun, then stopped again. Not from ice. A hand was holding them. A bare hand. Gray, frostbitten. Emerging from the white air above the mast. Fingers curled around the cups, holding them still. I stumbled backward. The safety line yanked me upright. The hand released the anemometer. The cups spun wildly. Through the storm, a man's voice shouted, "Don't log north wind!" I barely made it back inside. When I stripped off my frozen outer gear, there was blood on my glove. Not mine. I sent the 6 p.m. report. Temperature, pressure, visibility, wind speed, wind direction. The display said wind from north-northwest. I remembered the voice outside. Don't log north wind. I logged it as variable. Barlow came on immediately. Repeat wind direction. Variable under heavy icing. The line hissed. Repeat actual wind direction. I stared at the monitor. North-northwest. The station groaned. The west blanket shifted as wind pressed against covered glass. I said, "Variable." Barlow was silent for a long time. Then he said, "You found something?" "No." "You heard someone?" I didn't answer. His voice lowered. "Where?" "Instrument field." "What did it say?" I closed my eyes. "Don't log north wind." Barlow exhaled. "Good." "Why?" "Because north wind at Kavanaugh isn't always weather." Before I could ask what that meant, the radio cut to static. Then Channel 4 lit up by itself. A voice said, "Kavanaugh Station, report north wind." I switched back to Channel 1. The radio switched itself to Channel 4. Report north wind. I turned the volume down. Report north wind. I shut the radio off. The speaker still whispered, "Surface not confirmed." At 7:18 p.m., the power flickered. Generator recovered. Battery bank stable. At 7:41, the pressure began dropping again. Slow this time. Measured. Like something descending. At 8:03, the storage closet door opened by itself. I stood in the hallway with the wrench in one hand, watching the door swing inward. Inside were shelves of spare filters, cables, storm panels, ropes, batteries, cleaning supplies, snow shovels, and cardboard boxes of old station records. On the floor, where there had been nothing earlier, was a square of disturbed dust. The crawlspace hatch. Not the one Barlow had warned me about in the generator hall. A second hatch, hidden under a rubber mat and old boxes. The storm shook the walls. The radio whispered from the operations room, though I had shut it off. "Report north wind." The crawlspace knocked. 3, 3, 2. Then a voice beneath the hidden hatch said, "Halfway. I should have shut the closet. I should have stacked every box I could find on that hatch and sat in the operations room until morning. Instead, I opened it. The hatch lifted with a wet wooden groan, though it was metal. Cold air rose from below. Not basement air, outside air, storm air. I shone my flashlight down. The crawlspace was maybe 4 feet high, running beneath the station floor between support beams, pipes, cables, and insulated ductwork. The ground below was frozen rock and old snow that should not have been inside. A narrow path had been cleared through the dust. Someone had crawled there recently, or years ago, or both. At the far end, beneath the operations room, something orange reflected my light. A notebook, wrapped in plastic, tied to a pipe with cord. I climbed down. Every part of me knew that was the wrong choice. But fear and curiosity are closer than people admit, especially when you have been alone long enough for both to sound like instructions. The crawlspace smelled like ice, mice, old insulation, and metal. The storm was louder down there, not above, around, as if the station sat inside the wind instead of against it. I crawled toward the notebook. Halfway there, my flashlight flickered. Something moved behind the pipes. I froze. A face looked at me from between the floor joists, not below, above, pressed upside down through the boards as if the floor were water. A man's face, thin, bearded, eyes wide, lips blue. He whispered, "Don't let it measure you," then vanished. I almost turned back. I didn't. I reached the notebook and cut the cord with my pocket knife. The plastic crackled under my gloves. On the cover, written in black marker, was Lucas Marr Field Rule Book. Open only after day 10 if you found this early. Put it back if you found this late. Do not sleep. I crawled backward fast, dragging it with me. The hidden hatch slammed shut above my head. Darkness. Total. The flashlight died. For 1 second, I was under the station in black cold while the storm roared around the crawlspace and something breathed from the far end. Then the hatch opened again, not fully, just enough for weak hallway light to spill through. The voice from under the floor whispered, "Wrong code." I climbed out so hard I tore my sleeve on the hatch frame. I slammed it shut and shoved boxes over it until my arm shook. Back in the operations room, the radio was on. Channel 4. The voice said, calmly, "Kavanaugh Station, observer located." The west window blanket lifted in the wind. Behind it, the glass glowed faintly white. I sat at the desk with Lucas Marr's rulebook in my lap. My hands were shaking. The cover was stiff with cold. I opened it. The first page said, "If you are reading this, Barlow did not tell you enough." That line alone made my stomach drop. Below it, "The station is not haunted. Do not call it haunted. Haunted things remember people. This place remembers weather, and weather has less mercy. Read everything before midnight. Do not skip to the numbered rules. Do not trust official procedures after day 10. Do not report north wind. Do not let the station complete a surface observation of you. I turned the page. Lucas's handwriting was cramped and uneven, like he had written during turbulence. He had divided the book into sections. Pressure events, wind events, visibility events, radio events, personnel events, false dawn, north measurement, and then rules for staying unobserved. The storm hit the building so hard the operations room lights flickered. The radio voice said, "Observer located. Prepare measurement." I read faster. The first full page said, "Kavanaugh is built on an old summit marker that should never have been used for automated weather observation. The mountain was used for signal work before weather work, and before that, for something no one wrote down correctly. The station does not just record weather. Under certain conditions, it records whatever is present as weather. Wind can be a direction. Pressure can be a weight. Visibility can be attention. Temperature can be absence. If it gets a full reading of you, you become part of the station record." I stopped reading. The radio clicked. Temperature. The room went freezing cold. The monitor displayed interior temp, -17 degrees Celsius dropping. The rulebook page crinkled in my hands. I turned to the rules section. There were 31 rules. Rule 1, after day 10, never give complete data during a storm. Rule 2, do not report north wind. Call it variable, shifting, or instrument obscured. Rule 3, if channel 4 asks for surface conditions, switch channels. If it follows, remove the microphone. Rule 4, if the barometer drops while the air is still, sit on the floor until pressure normalizes. Do not stand under measurement. Rule 5, if suspended snow appears outside, do not move until it falls. Rule 6, if the west glass writes backward, cover it before the wind reads it. Rule 7, if footprints begin at the station door, erase only the first 3. Leave the rest. Rule 8, if you hear boots in the entryway but see no one on camera, say, "Shift already covered." Rule 9, if the crawl space knocks 332, do not answer. It is not asking to enter. It is counting. Rule 10, if you see Lucas Marr inside the floor, ask what day he left. If he says day 12, keep reading. If he says anything else, close the book. Rule 11, do not sleep while channel 4 is active. Rule 12, if the weather map shows a second station north of Kavanaugh, fold the map and place it under the east door. Rule 13, if the visibility camera shows daylight at night, turn the monitor face down. Rule 14, if the anemometer stops by hand, do not touch the mast again until morning. Rule 15, if the precipitation gauge fills with black water, log trace snow. Rule 16, if Barlow calls and tells you to evacuate during a storm, ask him what Lucas logged last. If he says, "Equipment failure," stay inside. Rule 17, if the station asks for observer height, do not stand. Rule 18, if the station asks for observer weight, remove your boots and put them outside the operations room. Rule 19, if the station asks for observer temperature, hold ice from the freezer under your tongue until the reading passes. Rule 20, if the station asks for observer visibility, close your eyes and count backward from 100. Rule 21, if the station asks for observer pressure, lie flat beneath the desk. Rule 22, if all instruments point north, lock the instrument field door and turn off the exterior lights. Rule 23, if the storm speaks in your voice, answer nothing. Rule 24, if the storm speaks in my voice, ask what day I left. Rule 25, if the lower office denies channel 4 exists, stop using the radio. Rule 26, If you hear a weather balloon dragging across the roof, do not cut it loose. Rule 27. If your breath fogs inside the radio glass, step away before it learns your lungs. Rule 28. If frost forms on the inside of your shadow, stand in stovelight until it melts. Rule 29. If the red beacon turns white, the station is visible from the north. Cover all windows. Rule 30. If you see yourself in the instrument field, do not let it reach the Stevenson screen. Rule 31. If the station completes an observation under your name, remove your name from every log before sunrise. I finished reading just as the radio said, "Observer temperature required." The room got colder. My teeth started chattering. The monitor flashed, "Temp sensor error interior. Temp falling." I ran to the tiny kitchen freezer and grabbed a handful of ice from the tray. Rule 19. If the station asks for observer temperature, hold ice from the freezer under your tongue until the reading passes. It sounded insane. I shoved ice under my tongue. Pain shot through my jaw. My eyes watered. The radio hissed. Observer temperature. I knelt on the operations room floor, ice melting under my tongue, trying not to gag. The monitor changed. Observer. Temp. Unstable. Then, data rejected. The room warmed by 3 degrees. I spat the ice into the sink and almost collapsed. The radio clicked again. Observer height required. Rule 17. Do not stand. I dropped flat to the floor. The ceiling seemed to lower above me, not visibly, by pressure. The station wanted me upright, measured, a number. The radio repeated, "Observer height required." I stayed down. The crawl space beneath the floor knocked. 332. The monitor displayed, "Height unavailable, data rejected." The pressure eased. Then channel 1 crackled. Barlow's voice came through. "Kavanaugh, respond." I stared at the radio. Channel 1, not 4. "Kavanaugh," I said, still on the floor. "What is happening up there?" "You tell me. Your data stream is corrupted. We're getting observer fields." I looked at Lucas's rulebook. "You knew this could happen." Barlow did not answer. "What did Lucas log last?" I asked. Silence. Then Barlow said, "Equipment failure." Rule 16. If Barlow calls and tells you to evacuate during a storm, ask him what Lucas logged last. If he says equipment failure, stay inside. He had not told me to evacuate yet, but he had given the wrong answer. I reached for the radio power switch. Barlow said quickly, "Do not turn that off." I stopped. His voice changed. "Evacuate now. Take the lower access road. Storm window closing in 40 minutes. I switched the radio off. The speaker kept talking. "Kavanaugh, evacuate." I yanked the microphone cable out. The voice stopped. For 5 seconds, the station was quiet, except for wind. Then the west window blanket tore down. The glass behind it was white with frost. Words scratched themselves backward from the inside. Observer name required. The computer monitor blinked. The active log field opened by itself. Observer. My name began typing. Mai A. I lunged across the desk and pulled the keyboard cable. The letters stopped. The storm hit the building again. The whole station shifted. Not shook, shifted, as if something outside had put 2 hands on the metal walls and turned the building a few degrees north. Every compass display on the monitors spun, then stopped. North, north, north. All instruments pointing north. Rule 22. If all instruments point north, lock the instrument field door and turn off the exterior lights. I ran to the control panel and shut off the exterior lights. The world outside vanished. Only the red beacon blinked through storm. Then I went to the entry, checked the instrument field door, and threw the manual lock. Something knocked from outside it immediately. Not boots, bare knuckles on metal. Tap, tap, tap. A voice shouted over the wind. "Let me reach the screen!" I looked through the tiny reinforced window in the door. In the instrument field, barely visible in the dark, a figure stood in the storm. Me. Same coat, same harness, same face half hidden by goggles. It leaned toward the door and shouted in my voice, "It's not finished." Rule 30. If you see yourself in the instrument field, do not let it reach the Stevenson screen. I looked past the figure. The Stevenson screen stood 20 feet behind it, white slatted box on metal legs, half buried in rime. The other me turned away from the door and began walking toward it. I grabbed the flare gun from the emergency shelf. Not a real weapon. A signal flare. I loaded one cartridge, cracked the door open 3 inches, aimed low, and fired. The flare shot into the snow between the other me and the Stevenson screen. Red fire bloomed in the storm. The figure stopped. For 1 second it looked back at me. Its face behind the goggles was not mine anymore. It was hollow. A blank weathered depression where features should have been. Then the wind took it apart. Snow, frost, and scraps of dark cloth scattered across the instrument field. I slammed the door shut and locked it again. Behind me, from the operations room, Lucas Marr's voice said, "What day did I leave?" I turned slowly. A man stood beside the desk. Thin, bearded, blue lips, snow melting from his hair onto the floor. The previous worker, or the thing wearing him. Rule 10. If you see Lucas Marr inside the floor, ask what day he left. If he says day 12, keep reading. If he says anything else, close the book. Rule 24. If the storm speaks in my voice, ask what day I left. I held the flare gun with both hands. "What day did you leave?" Lucas smiled sadly. "Day 12. The station lights went out, and from the crawl space under my feet, something began reading the rule book aloud in my voice. The crawl space read the rule book in my voice. Not like a recording, not like an echo. It read like I was under the floor, lying on my back in the dark, calmly going through each rule for someone else. "Rule 1, my voice said from beneath the operations room. After day 10, never give complete data during a storm." Lucas Marr stood beside the desk, dripping melted snow onto the floor. The lights were out. Only the red emergency glow from the backup panel lit the room, turning his face into something carved from wax and frost. His lips were blue. His beard was full of ice crystals. His eyes never left the floor. "Rule 2, my voice continued below us. Do not report north wind. Call it variable, shifting, or instrument obscured." Lucas whispered, "It's learning the countermeasures." I tightened my grip on the flare gun. "You said day 12. His eyes flicked to me. "Yes. That means I keep reading." "You already did. What are you?" His face twisted, not angry, pained. "Not enough of me to be useful, too much of me to be gone." Under the floor, my voice read louder. "Rule 3. If channel 4 asks for surface conditions, switch channels. If it follows, remove the microphone." Lucas winced. "Don't let it finish." "How?" He looked toward the hidden crawlspace hatch in the storage closet. "You opened the book down there." "No, I opened it up here." "You found it down there. That counts." The floor beneath us knocked. 3, 3, 2. Then my voice continued. "Rule 4. If the barometer drops while the air is still, sit on the floor until pressure normalizes. Do not stand under measurement." The room compressed, not with cold this time, with attention. That is the only word I have. The station was listening to its own rules being read aloud in my voice, and every word made the air sharper. It was not just learning what I knew, it was learning how I sounded when I knew it. Lucas moved toward the storage closet. I raised the flare gun. He stopped. "Don't point that at me. Give me a reason not to. I kept you from logging North Wind." "That was you?" He nodded once. "Or what's left of me." My voice below read, "Rule 5. If suspended snow appears outside, do not move until it falls." Lucas said, "When it reaches Rule 31, it will know how to make you erase yourself wrong." My mouth went dry. Rule 31. If the station completes an observation under your name, remove your name from every log before sunrise. How can erasing my name be wrong? Because if you remove it from the human logs, but not the station record, the mountain keeps the empty place. Then it fills the empty place with whatever is closest. What was closest when you did it? Lucas did not answer. He looked toward the west window. The blanket had fallen. Frost covered the inside of the glass again. The backward writing had changed. Observer name required. Below it, new words scratched themselves into the frost, letter by letter. Lucas Marr, incomplete, new observer, pending. I looked back at Lucas. "What happened on day 12? He smiled weakly. "I got tired." That scared me more than any dramatic answer could have. The crawlspace voice reached Rule 6. If the west glass writes backward, cover it before the wind reads it. The frost on the window pulsed. Lucas whispered, "Too late for that one." Then he ran, not at me, past me, toward the storage closet. I followed, flare gun in one hand, rule book in the other. The crawlspace voice continued beneath the floorboards, muffled now but still clear. Rule 7, Rule 8, Rule 9, counting, learning. The storage closet door slammed open before Lucas touched it. Boxes slid aside by themselves. The hidden hatch lifted. Cold storm air blasted up from below, carrying snowflakes that should not have existed inside the building. Lucas dropped to his knees at the edge. I shouted, "Don't go down!" He looked back at me. "I never came up." Then he crawled into the dark. The hatch tried to slam shut after him. I jammed the flare gun barrel under the edge and held it open. From below came the sound of Lucas moving fast through the crawl space. Then my voice under the floor stopped reading. For 1 second, there was silence. Then Lucas screamed. I had heard people scream before. Pain, fear, shock. This was different. This was the sound of someone being noticed. The hatch bucked against the flare gun. I grabbed the handle with both hands and pulled. Something below pulled back. The metal edge cut into my gloves. From the crawl space, Lucas shouted, "Book!" "What? Give it the book!" I looked down at Lucas Marr's rulebook in my other hand. The thing under the floor resumed reading in my voice, but now the words were wrong. Rule 10, it said. If you see Lucas Marr, ask what day he left. If he says day 12, let him measure you. "No," I whispered. The book in my hand trembled. Ink shifted across the page. The rules were changing. Not on the page I had read. On the page the station was reading. It wasn't just learning, it was revising. I shoved the rule book into the open hatch. The second it crossed the threshold, every monitor in the operations room flashed white. The crawlspace voice stopped. Lucas screamed again, closer this time. A hand shot up from the hatch. His hand. I grabbed it. His skin was so cold it burned through my glove. I pulled. For a moment, he came up. Head, shoulders, chest. Then something below seized him. His eyes locked on mine. Do not sleep on day 12. Then the crawlspace pulled him down so hard his hand slipped from mine. The hatch slammed shut. The flare gun snapped in half. Silence. I stayed on my knees in the storage closet, staring at the hatch, holding only the broken plastic grip of the flare gun. The lights came back on. The storm kept screaming outside. In the operations room, Channel 1 crackled to life by itself. Barlow's voice came through. "Kavanaugh Station, report status." I did not answer. "Kavanaugh Station, report status." I picked up the microphone, then remembered it was unplugged. The radio had no microphone now. Still, Barlow said, "I can hear you breathing." I stepped back. The radio continued. "Lucas made it worse by hiding the book. You made it worse by opening it. We can still contain this if you follow official procedure." Official procedure. Lucas had written, "Do not trust official procedures after day 10. I said nothing. Barlow's voice hardened. "Kavanaugh, answer." The monitor opened a reporting form by itself. 6-hour special observation. Observer, height, weight, temperature, pressure, visibility, wind exposure. My name began typing again. MA. I yanked the power cord from the terminal. The screen stayed on. RC. I grabbed the chair and smashed it into the monitor. The glass cracked. The letters stopped. For half a second, I felt victorious. Then the cracked monitor reflected the room behind me. In the reflection, I saw myself standing at the west window. Not the real me, the instrument field me, the hollow one. It pressed one hand to the frost and wrote backward, "Manual entry accepted." I turned around. Nothing stood there. The west window was covered in frost, but no figure. Only the words remained. The storm had found another way to log me. At 9:12 p.m., the roof began dragging. Rule 26. If you hear a weather balloon dragging across the roof, do not cut it loose. The sound started as a light scrape, then a thump, then a long, slow drag across the metal roof from east to west. Something bumped against the radio mast. The whole building rang. I looked at the camera feed for the roof. Snow. Static. Then a white shape appeared, half collapsed, flapping violently in the wind. A weather balloon. Huge. Torn. Its instrument package dangled from a cord, banging against the roof edge. The label on the package was visible whenever lightning flashed inside the storm cloud. Kavanaugh. Upper air return if found. The balloon dragged again. The ceiling bowed slightly. I stood in the operations room holding a wrench, repeating the rule under my breath. Do not cut it loose. Do not cut it loose. Do not cut it loose. The instrument package slammed into the roof hatch. Once, twice. Then the ceiling access panel popped open. A cord dropped through. Not rope, not string. Something like a wet umbilical cable wrapped in ice. It dangled into the operations room. At the end was a small white radiosonde box, cracked open, red light blinking. A tiny speaker inside said, "Observer height required." I dropped to the floor. The box swung slowly. Observer weight required. Rule 18. If the station asks for observer weight, remove your boots and put them outside the operations room. I crawled to the doorway without standing, pulled off my boots, threw them into the hall. The radiosonde swung toward them. The boots collapsed inward, not physically, visually, like something invisible weighed them, found them empty, and rejected them. The speaker said, "Weight incomplete." The floor beneath my chest pushed upward. I flattened myself harder. "No," I whispered. The station wanted the weight of my body. The radiosonde light blinked. Observer weight required. I grabbed the emergency supply crate under the desk and dragged it beside me. Cans, Tools, batteries. Heavy enough? Maybe. I shoved my coat inside the crate, then my gloves, then the broken flare gun grip, then the name badge Barlow had given me. The radio sonde swung over the crate. The red light blinked faster. Weight unstable. I reached into my pocket and pulled out my wallet. Driver's license, debit card, old photo, the ordinary proof of being a person. I put the wallet in the crate. The speaker clicked. Weight accepted. The crate crushed itself flat like it had been dropped from a great height. The radio sonde cord whipped upward through the ceiling hatch. The panel slammed shut. On the cracked monitor, the observation form updated. Observer, weight, partial. I had given it a partial, not complete, not enough, I hoped. At 10 p.m. Nashville, the storm stopped. Not eased, stopped. The wind cut off mid-scream. The walls stopped shaking. The roof stopped dragging. The station became so quiet that the hum of the refrigerator sounded obscene. Rule 4. If the barometer drops while the air is still, sit on the floor until pressure normalizes. Do not stand under measurement. I was already on the floor. Good. The barometer began dropping. Fast. My ears popped. The air pressed down. Something invisible lowered over the station, like a glass jar being placed over an insect. I stayed flat on the floor. The station creaked. The pressure display flashed. That was impossible. At sea level, a hurricane could drop pressure into the 900s. At altitude, readings were adjusted, but this was not meteorology anymore. This was weight. The mountain was leaning on the building. The crawl space knocked. 3, 3, 2. Then Lucas's voice whispered from below. Do not let it make you stand. I pressed my cheek to the floor. The pressure dropped below 900. The desk groaned. The office chair slowly crushed downward, wheels snapping. The cracked monitor imploded. Glass fell inward. I could barely breathe. Then a voice spoke from the ceiling. Not the radio, not the crawl space, the station itself. Observer pressure required. Rule 21. If the station asks for observer pressure, lie flat beneath the desk. I was flat, but not beneath the desk. The desk was 3 feet away. The pressure increased. My ribs hurt. I dragged myself with my elbows. 1 inch, then another. The floor felt like it was tilting upward to keep me out. My vision spotted. The voice repeated, observer pressure required. I reached the desk, pulled myself under it. The pressure snapped away. I gasped so hard I nearly vomited. The display on the backup screen read, observer, pressure, floor level data rejected. For the first time all night, I laughed. Not because it was funny, because the station had failed to make me into a number, and for 1 second, that felt like winning. The laugh echoed. Too long. The crawl space laughed back in my voice. At 10:44, the lower office called on the satellite phone. Not radio, phone. The ring sounded absurdly normal. I let it ring 3 times, though no rule said to. Kavanaugh, I said. A woman answered, not Barlow. Is this Marcus? Yes. This is Dr. Hale from Lower Ops. We're monitoring abnormal telemetry from your station. Are you injured? I almost cried at the sound of a new voice, a living voice. Maybe. Who is Barlow? I asked. A pause. Our field operations lead. What did Lucas log last? She hesitated. That's not relevant right now. I closed my eyes. What did Lucas log last? Static crackled under the phone line. Dr. Hale said, Barlow told me you may ask unusual questions. He said to keep you calm. What did Lucas log last? This time, her voice softened. He logged observer, no longer singular. I sat up too fast and hit my head on the desk. Not equipment failure. Not the wrong answer. Maybe real. What happened to him? We don't fully know. You left his rule book up here. I didn't know there was a rule book. Barlow did. Silence. Then Dr. Hale said, Barlow was removed from Kavanaugh operations after the Mar incident. The room went cold again. What? He should not have contacted you. He drove me up here. That isn't possible. I stared at the dead radio, at the broken monitor, at the West Frost, at the hatch in the storage closet. Dr. Hale, I said slowly, Barlow is real. He was, she said. The word landed badly. Was. He died 3 months ago. Heart attack at lower ops. The satellite phone crackled. Then Barlow's voice came through under hers. Hang up, Marcus. Dr. Hale kept talking, unaware. Marcus, did you hear me? Barlow whispered. If she tells you the rescue team is coming, the mountain will hear the route. I gripped the phone. Dr. Hale, do not send anyone until morning. We may not have a choice. Do not say the route. She paused. What? If you're real, do not say the route. The line hissed. Then she said, Understood. Good. A real person would be confused. A fake one would be helpful. Dr. Hale continued carefully. Can you make it to sunrise? I looked at the clock. 10:49 p.m. No idea. Stay inside. Maintain heat. Avoid exposed surfaces. Do not trust unverified radio contact. I already learned that. I'll call again at midnight. No, I said quickly. The rule book had said, do not sleep while Channel 4 is active, but nothing about calls. Still, schedules became hooks. Call at 12:07. Why? Because I said midnight out loud, and I don't like that. She understood faster than I expected. 12:07. The line cut. Almost immediately, the satellite phone rang again. I did not answer. It rang until the screen displayed Lower Opes, then Dr. Hale, then Mom. My mother was alive. That made it almost funny. The mountain was getting sloppy. I pulled the phone battery out. At 11:13, the visibility camera showed daylight. Rule 13. If the visibility camera shows daylight at night, turn the monitor face down. Most monitors were dead now, but one small backup tablet still showed external feeds. It had been sitting near the radio panel, running on battery. The visibility camera feed flickered. It showed bright morning, blue sky, sunlit snow, clear valley, no storm, a perfect day. I nearly leaned closer. Then I remembered. I turned the tablet face down. The screen shone against the desk. From underneath it, a muffled crowd noise began. People talking, boots on snow, a helicopter. Someone shouted, "We found him!" No, they hadn't. The tablet vibrated. A voice under it said, "He's alive." Another voice said, "Get him standing." I placed both hands on top of the tablet and held it down like something might crawl out of the screen. The false daylight seeped around the edges, warm, golden, impossible. Then it clicked off. When I turned the tablet over again, the feed showed night, snow, and nothing else. At 11:40, frost formed on the inside of my shadow. Rule 28. If frost forms on the inside of your shadow, stand in stove light until it melts. There was no stove at Summit Station. That rule had bothered me the first time I read it. There was a tiny emergency propane heater in the storage closet, but no stove. Lucas had written stove light, not heat. Maybe he meant flame. I saw the frost when I walked past the operations room wall. My shadow fell under the emergency red light, and inside its outline, Frost crystals formed on the metal wall, a white human shape growing inside my dark one. My shadow's head turned before I did. I ran to the kitchen, grabbed the butane lighter for the camp stove, and lit the burner. Blue flame. No. Stove light. Maybe. I stood in the glow, my shadow stretched across the counter. The frost inside it crackled. A second shadow appeared beside mine, Lucas Marr, then Barlow, then me again. 3 shadows, only one body, observer no longer singular. The frost in my shadow melted slowly. Water ran down the wall in the shape of my outline. The extra shadows faded. But before Lucas's shadow vanished, it lifted one hand and pointed toward the official procedure binder. I opened it. Most of it was useless now. Emergency protocols, weather codes, equipment manuals. But tucked into the back cover was a sealed envelope. I hadn't noticed it before. On the front, in Barlow's handwriting, "Open only if observer fields appear." My first instinct was to burn it. My second was to open it. The second won. Inside was one page. Not rules. A confession. Marr was not the first. Kavanaugh has produced anomalous observer data since analog operations began, historically dismissed as instrument contamination, severe rhyme interference, or operator error. The mountain attempts complete classification of personnel during certain North events. If classification completes, subject may remain visible in records, instruments, or forecast outputs after physical disappearance. Do not allow rescue teams above tree marker 7 during active North events. Do not transmit full names over channel 4. Do not allow the station to generate an official METR/SYNOP report containing observer fields. If automatic transmission begins, CVAR uplink manually from exterior mast box. Exterior mast box. Outside. During a storm. Of course. At the bottom, in a different handwriting, maybe Barlow's, maybe Lucas's, maybe someone before them. There is no way to delete a completed report. There is only correction before transmission. At 11:58, the automatic report began compiling. The surviving terminal, the one I thought I had killed, rebooted with a cracked black screen. A green command line appeared. Auto observation, Kavanaugh Summit. Transmission queued. 00:05 minutes. Fields populated one by one. Station pressure, temperature, wind speed, wind direction, north. No. I typed variable. It changed back to north. Precipitation, black water. I typed trace snow. It changed back. Visibility, observer. Observer name, Marr. I ripped the power cable again. No effect. Transmission queued. 00:04:21. The uplink. Exterior mast box. I had to go outside. Rule 29. If the red beacon turns white, the station is visible from the north. Cover all windows. I looked at the mast beacon. Through the west glass, through frost and storm, it blinked red. Then white, white, dark, white, dark. The station was visible from the north. Cover all windows. Transmission in 4 minutes. If I covered windows, I lost time. If I went outside, the north saw me. I made a choice. Not a brave one. A desperate one. I grabbed the remaining blankets and dragged them across the west window, then threw storm panels over the south and east. I left the small entry window uncovered because I had no material left and no time. 0 hours, 3 minutes, 38 seconds. I put on every outer layer I had. Harness, rope, goggles, gloves. I took the ice axe from the equipment rack and clipped into the guideline. At the door, I stopped. My boots were still outside the operations room from the weight rule, crushed flat, unwearable. I had spare boots in the bunk room, but if I wore them, would the station count again? No time. I put on the spare boots. The moment I tied the laces, the terminal beeped. Observer wait, updated. No, I ran to the terminal and typed, boots only. For some reason, maybe because I believed it hard enough, maybe because the station had not fully learned sarcasm, the field changed. Observer wait, boots only data, partial 000254. I opened the exterior door. The storm entered like an animal. It hit me in the chest, filled my hood with ice, and shoved me backward against the wall. I lowered my head and went out. The world was white, but not empty. Shapes moved in the storm. Weather-shaped, people-shaped, memory-shaped. On my left, Lucas Marr crawled through snow without legs. On my right, Barlow stood in a parka, pointing toward the access road. Above me, the weather balloon dragged across the mast, its torn skin flapping like a lung. I followed the guide rope toward the radio mast. Every step tried to become data: height, weight, temperature, pressure, visibility. The station wanted to observe me outside, where I could not hide under desks or behind dead monitors. The mast box was mounted waist-high on the base of the radio mast, a metal cabinet with a manual latch and warning stickers. My gloves were already stiff. The beacon above me flashed white. White. Dark. White. Dark. I opened the mast box. Inside were cables, breakers, fiber lines, and labels crusted with ice. Uplink A. Uplink B. Auto Met Report. Manual override. The station spoke from the storm. Observer located. I slammed the ice axe into the cable labeled Auto Met Report. Once. Twice. The insulation split, but did not sever. The storm shoved me sideways. My tether caught. From the instrument field, my own voice screamed, "Let me reach the screen!" I hit the cable again. Copper showed. Sparks blew sideways in the snow. Through the open station door behind me, I heard the terminal alarm, 000112. I swung again. The cable snapped. The white beacon went dark. The whole mountain fell silent. For one perfect second, no wind, no radio, no station, no storm. Then the mast box display lit up with one line. Transmission rerouted to Channel 4. Behind me, inside the station, every radio turned on, and Lucas Marr's rule book, still somewhere under the floor, began transmitting every rule in my voice to the north. The radios inside Summit Station began speaking with my voice. Not one radio, all of them. The base unit in the operations room. The backup handhelds charging on the shelf. The emergency receiver near the bunk. The weather band radio in the kitchen. Even the cracked speaker in the entryway that was only supposed to sound an alarm if the door stayed open too long. My voice came out of all of them at once, calm and clear, reading Lucas Marr's rule book into the storm. Rule 1, after day 10, never give complete data during a storm. I stood outside at the mast box with the severed Auto Met Report cable sparking in the snow, and for a few seconds I could not make myself move. The transmission had rerouted to Channel 4. The station did not need the uplink anymore. It had an old relay. It had my voice. And under the floor, somewhere in the crawl space, it had Lucas Marr's rule book. The mast beacon above me was no longer white. It was off. No red, no white, no signal at all. That should have been better. It wasn't. Without the beacon, the whole summit felt unmarked. Like the station had stopped telling the world where it was and had started telling something else where I was. The storm moved around me in a slow circle. not wind, attention. Snow twisted in the dark, forming almost shapes and losing them again. A shoulder, a face, a hand. Barlow standing 20 feet away, one arm raised toward the access road. Lucas crawling across the instrument field. Myself near the Stevenson screen, hollow-faced and waiting. Inside the station, my voice continued. Rule 2. Do not report north wind. Call it variable, shifting, or instrument obscured. No, I had to stop it before it finished. I turned from the mast box and clipped my harness line back onto the guide rope. The wind hit me sideways, but weaker now, like it was trying not to interrupt its own broadcast. Every step back to the station felt wrong. The snow under my boots gave too much. The ground had softened into something like packed cloud. My weight sank in, then slowly rose back, erasing my footprints before I lifted my foot again. Observer weight, observer pressure, observer visibility. It was still trying to measure. I kept one gloved hand on the guide rope and made myself move. Behind me, from the instrument field, my own voice shouted, "Marcus, wait!" Not from the radios, from outside. I did not turn. Rule 23. If the storm speaks in your voice, answer nothing. The voice came closer. "Marcus, I know how to fix it." No answer. "You forgot Rule 31. I nearly stopped. The station knew that would make me stop. I kept moving. The exterior door slammed open before I reached it. Warm station air poured out into the storm, carrying the sound of my recorded voice. Rule 3. If Channel 4 asks for surface conditions, switch channels. If it follows, remove the microphone. The words came from inside. My voice, my cadence, my fear flattened into instruction. I staggered through the doorway and threw my weight against the door until it latched. Inside, the station was too bright. Every overhead light had come on. Every monitor, even the smashed ones, glowed with white-green text. Auto observation, Kavanaugh Summit transmission, rerouted Channel 4. Active report compiling. Below that, observer name, Marcus Hale. Observer height, unavailable observer. Weight, boots only observer. Temperature, unstable observer. Pressure, floor level, observer. Visibility, pending observer. Wind exposure, north. My name, complete. The first completed field. My chest went tight. Rule 31. If the station completes an observation under your name, remove your name from every log before sunrise. Not just the digital logs. Every log. I had written my name in the paper station log on day 1. It was on the sign-in sheet. It was on the contract page. My ID badge, crushed in the crate, probably counted. The terminal had it. The station had it. Channel 4 was transmitting it. My voice on the radios reached Rule 4. If the barometer drops while the air is still, sit on the floor until pressure normalizes. Do not stand under measurement. A knock came from the crawl space. 3, 3, 2. Then Lucas's voice whispered from beneath the floor. "It's skipping soon." I froze. "What?" "No," I had answered. The lights flickered. The terminal updated. Observer response. Confirmed. I clamped my mouth shut. Lucas's voice came again, muffled beneath the floor. "It doesn't need all rules. It needs yours." The radios skipped. My voice stopped reading Rule 5. Silence. Then, Rule 31. If the station completes an observation under your name, remove your name from every log before sunrise. The station had jumped to the end. The operations room door slammed shut behind me. The west window frost cracked. The crawl space knocked faster. 332, 332, 332. The terminal flashed. Correction window. Open sunrise. Deadline 0641. It was just after midnight. That gave me hours. The station knew that too. The longer I spent removing my name, the longer it had to measure everything else. The satellite phone rang. I had pulled the battery. It rang anyway from the kitchen counter, screen black, battery sitting beside it. Once, twice, 3. I grabbed it and held it to my ear. No greeting. No answer. Dr. Hale's voice came through, faint but steady. "Marcus, do not speak unless necessary." I almost sobbed from relief. Instead, I tapped the counter once. "Good," she said. "We're receiving channel 4. I tapped once again. "It's broadcasting old rule text in your voice and partial observer fields. We are not repeating the data. We are not logging the name. Listen carefully." I held the phone tight enough to hurt. The mountain cannot complete an official observation if the human station log contradicts it before transmission closes. Paper first, digital second, external markers last. Paper first, the paper log, sign-in sheet, contract folder, my name, Dr. Hale continued. "Do you have Lucas Marr's field book?" I stared at the storage closet, the hidden hatch, the crawl space. I tapped twice. No, she understood anyway. "It has it?" I tapped once. "Yes," she exhaled. "Then assume it knows every rule in that book and will imitate compliance. Do not trust easy corrections." The terminal beeped. Observer visibility required the station lights dimmed, the windows cleared. Every blanket covering them peeled away and fell to the floor. Outside the west glass, the storm vanished. In its place was a sunrise, bright, golden, beautiful, false dawn. I knew it instantly, even without seeing Lucas's section. The satellite phone crackled. "Marcus, do not look at daylight if the clock says night." I shut my eyes. Too late to not see it, but not too late to stop looking. Rule 20. If the station asks for observer visibility, close your eyes and count backward from 100. I closed my eyes harder. 100. 99. The station whispered through the walls. Visibility required. 98. The false sunrise warmed my eyelids. 97. Somewhere outside, birds began singing. There were no birds up here in this storm. 96. A rescue helicopter thumped overhead. 95. A man shouted, "We see him!" 94. The floor tilted beneath me. 93. Dr. Hale's voice came through the dead phone, low and urgent. "Keep counting." 92. 91. The false sunlight became hotter, like summer, like standing in a valley meadow instead of a metal station on a frozen summit. 90. My mother's voice said, "Open your eyes, Marcus. It's over." 89. My mother was alive, but the mountain didn't care. It had learned that mothers worked. 88. The station said, "Observer visibility pending." 87. The crawl space knocked. 3, 3, 2. Then my own voice below whispered, "Count faster." I did not. 86. 85. The rescue voices faded. The bird sounds warped into static. The warmth became cold. At 72, the false daylight flickered. At 61, the helicopter became the roof, dragging again. At 40, the west window darkened behind my eyelids. At 10, the station whispered, "Visibility incomplete." At 0, I opened my eyes. The storm was back. Night, snow, nothing else. The terminal displayed, "Observer, visibility, eyes closed, data rejected, good, no, not good, useful." I went to the paper log. The main station log sat on the desk, open to the day's observation entries. My name appeared on the inside cover. Assigned observer, Marcus Hale. I tore the cover off. The station lights flickered. The radios hissed in my voice. Correction detected. I flipped through the pages. Every day's report had my initials. MH, manual temperature verification. MH, ice cleared. MH, generator checked. MH6, AM report. MH6, PM report. MH. So many little ways to become official. Paper first. I took a black marker from the drawer and struck through every initial, not scribbling wildly. One clean line. Then above each, I wrote, Observer unconfirmed. The station did not like that. The walls popped. The barometer needle spun. The radio mast outside groaned. From the crawl space, Lucas whispered, Don't erase me. I stopped. His name appeared in old log entries tucked at the back. Elmar, winter rotation incomplete. I hadn't planned to touch it, but now I saw why he was afraid. Rule 31 said remove your name, not his. Not you, I whispered. The floor under me relaxed by 1 degree. I kept going. On the sign-in sheet, I crossed out my name and wrote, Temporary Observer, not Surface. On the equipment checklist, I removed my initials. On the printed schedule, I blacked out my assignment line. In the drawer, I found the contract copy Barlow had left. My name was typed across the top. I tore that page into strips and fed it into the kitchen burner. Blue flame. I almost pulled back. Then the flame turned orange. The page curled into ash. The radio stuttered. My voice repeated, Observer name, observer name, observer name. The terminal updated. Observer name, Marcus Hale. Paper contradiction, detected confidence. 71% I had lowered it. Not enough. Digital second. I went to the computers. The main monitor was broken, but still displaying. The keyboard cable was gone. The terminal should not have worked. I found the backup maintenance laptop in a cabinet and opened the station data directory. It booted slowly, too slowly, while every radio in the station whispered my name in different tones. Marcus Hale, Marcus Hale, Marcus Hale, I typed with numb fingers. Station users, observer profile, daily reports, automated data cache, personnel roster. Every file wanted a password. I tried the code Barlow gave me. Denied. I tried the emergency code. Denied. The satellite phone crackled. Dr. Hale said, Try MARRDAY12. I typed it. Access granted. I almost laughed. Lucas, you paranoid genius. The folder opened. There were observer profiles going back years. Not many. Most had normal names. Some were corrupted. Lucas Marr, incomplete Barlow, Eric, removed unknown observer, North event. My profile sat at the bottom. Marcus Hale, active. I opened it. Fields populated. Full name, height, weight, start date, contract length, emergency contact, medical info, photo ID. The mountain had been given half of me before I arrived. I selected the profile name, deleted it. The system froze. The cursor blinked. Then the name reappeared. Marcus Hale. Active, of course. No way to delete a completed report. Only correction before transmission, not delete. Correct. I changed the profile name to Unconfirmed Temporary Observer. The system accepted it, then changed it back. I remembered Dr. Hale's warning. Do not trust easy corrections. I opened the metadata, hidden fields, observer ID, linked report, surface confirmation, north exposure. That was the hook. The name was tied to a field called surface_confirmed. It was marked pending, not complete. I edited the field manually. Surface_confirmed. No. The laptop screen flickered. Every light in the station went off. The radio speakers all spoke at once. Observer present. I typed observer_present. No. The station shook so hard a cabinet door flew open. I typed, observer_roll, equipment interference. The laptop accepted it. The terminal updated. Observer name, unconfirmed confidence, 42% better, still not enough. External markers last. What counted as external markers? The mast box, the ID badge, my boots, the instrument field, the voice transmission itself. The station answered for me. The radio on Channel 4 spoke in my voice again. Marcus Hale reporting from Kavanaugh Summit. North wind observed. Surface confirmed. The confidence jumped, 56%. No. I ran to the radios. Microphone gone. Power off. Still transmitting. Channel 4 wasn't coming from the normal radio anymore. It was coming from the crawl space. From the rule book. From the old relay under the station. Barlow had been dead. Lucas, incomplete. The station had been using workers as transmitters for years. I grabbed the official procedure binder, the maintenance map, and Barlow's confession page. There had to be an old relay diagram. I tore through every section until I found a folded wiring sheet taped into the back. Station legacy systems do not remove Channel 4. Relay, subfloor access, analog pressure. Archive north marker line, subfloor access, the crawl space, of course. The diagram showed a relay box beneath the operations room floor, not near the storage hatch, but under the west wall, directly below the writing glass. If I destroyed the relay, maybe the transmission stopped. If I went into the crawl space, maybe I became Lucas. The terminal flashed. Transmission confidence, 61%. Next observer, field, wind exposure. Outside, every instrument pointed north. Rule 22 had told me to lock the instrument field door and turn off exterior lights. Done. But now I needed to go outside again? No. Wind exposure could be corrected from the instrument log. I opened the raw sensor feed. Every wind direction reading for the past hour was marked N. I selected the range and replaced each with obscured by rhyme. The system changed them back to N. I remembered Rule 2. Call it variable, shifting, or instrument obscured. Not rhyme obscured. Instrument obscured. I typed exactly. Instrument obscured accepted. Wind exposure confidence dropped. 61 became 49. The station roared, not wind, anger through metal. From the storage closet, the hidden hatch opened by itself. Lucas's voice called up, "It's not enough." I knew. The Channel 4 relay had to go. I took the ice axe, a headlamp, a coil of rope, and the camp stove lighter. I tied the rope to the operations room desk, then to my waist. My spare boots felt too heavy. I took them off. The floor was freezing under my socks. Rule 18 had used boots as weight. I did not want to carry weight it could count. I opened the hidden hatch. The crawl space breathed cold air into my face. The headlamp beam showed pipes, cables, frozen rock, insulation, and darkness. Far under the west wall, something blinked red. The relay. The crawl space knocked. 3, 3, 2. "Wrong code," Lucas whispered. "Then give me the right one." Silence. Then, from somewhere beneath the operations room, Barlow's voice said, "There isn't one." I crawled in anyway. The hatch did not slam this time. That scared me more. The station wanted me below. The crawl space was tighter than before. Or I was more aware of it. Every beam seemed lower. Every pipe seemed closer. My shoulders scraped insulation. My hands slid on frost. Above me, through the floorboards, I could hear the radios still transmitting. My voice, Lucas's voice, Barlow's voice, all layered now. Surface confirmed. Observer pending. North wind observed. Equipment interference. Observer no longer singular. The red blink ahead grew brighter. Halfway there, I saw Lucas Marr. Not a ghost standing. Not a body. A shape pressed into the underside of the floorboards, like a person trapped behind ice. His face, hands, and chest were flattened upward against the wood, eyes open, mouth moving. He whispered, "Don't let it use the book." "Where is it?" His eyes shifted left. I turned the headlamp. Lucas Marr's rule book lay open beside the relay box, pages fluttering though there was no wind. My handwriting moved across the page. New rules, not Lucas's, mine. Rule 32. If the relay speaks with your voice, answer to confirm identity. No. Rule 33. If the mountain asks for surface, stand outside and face north. No. Rule 34. If you want to leave, complete the report. The station was writing future traps in my voice. I crawled faster. Something grabbed my ankle. I kicked hard. A hand held me. Not Lucas. Mine. The hollow version of me lay behind a pipe, its blank face turned toward me, fingers locked around my bootless ankle. It whispered without a mouth. Observer pressure required. The crawlspace ceiling pressed down. I slammed the ice axe backward. It hit the hand. The grip broke into snow. I pulled myself forward until I reached the relay. It was an old metal box bolted to a support beam, covered in frost, cables entering from every direction. A small label, barely readable, CH4, Legacy MET Relay. Under it, someone had scratched, "Don't let it speak first, too late." I opened the box. Inside was not modern electronics. It was old copper, vacuum tubes, pressure diaphragms, analog dials, and something that looked horribly like a barometer needle tied with hair. Human hair, lots of it. Each strand labeled, names, initials, dates. Lucas Marr's hair was tied near the center. Barlow's too, others, older. Some labels had rotted away. I found mine, a single dark thread looped around a contact screw. I don't know how it got there. I don't want to know. Maybe from my hat, my pillow. The station had been collecting since day one. External marker. I pulled the strand free. The relay sparked. Above me, all radios screamed. The confidence dropped on the terminal somewhere upstairs. I could feel it. The rulebook pages whipped open. In my voice, from the book itself. Observer name removed, replacement required. "No," I said. The relay clicked. Bad, I had spoken. The book wrote, "Observer response. Confirmed." Lucas's flattened face in the ceiling strained. "Burn it." I had brought the lighter, but fire in a crawl space full of old insulation and fuel lines was insane. So was everything else. I sparked the lighter. The flame was tiny. The rulebook pages curled toward it, not away, like they wanted warmth. Lucas shouted, "Not the book first, the hair." The hair labels, memory before paper. I held the flame to the bundle of collected hair tied inside the relay. For a second, nothing happened. Then the hair caught. The smell was immediate and awful. The relay screamed, not mechanically, vocally, dozens of voices at once, names burning out of measurement. Marr, Barlow, unknown observers, old workers, people who had stood on the summit and become fields in a report no one believed. The rule book slammed shut, then opened to the first page. The words changed. "If you are reading this, Barlow did not tell you enough." Then, "If you are burning this, do not stop halfway." I burned the rest, not with a dramatic flame. It was slow and ugly and terrifying. I fed pages into the little lighter flame while the crawl space filled with smoke, and the station shook above me. Rules blackened, ink bubbled. My own new false rules curled and vanished. Lucas's original notes burned too, and that hurt in a way I did not expect. Survivors leave rules, but sometimes a place learns them. Sometimes the warning becomes vocabulary for the thing you warned about. The relay box popped. The red light went out. All at once, Channel 4 stopped. The crawl space went silent. Then the whole station exhaled. The pressure lifted. The wind outside became only wind. Lucas's face in the ceiling sagged with relief. "Day 12, he whispered. "What?" "That's when I left." "I know." "No," he said. "That's what you write." His eyes closed. The wood above him became ordinary floorboards. The rope around my waist tugged once from the direction of the hatch. A signal, or a trap. I didn't wait to decide. I crawled backward, coughing smoke, dragging the ice axe with me. Halfway to the hatch, the crawl space shifted. The relay had died, but the mountain had not. The floor above me lengthened. The hatch moved farther away. No, not again. I pulled on the rope. It was still tied to the desk. The station could move the space, but it had not learned to move the knot. I followed the rope with both hands. The hatch came into view. Then the operations room above. I climbed out and collapsed on the floor. The terminal was still on, cracked, dim, but the report had not transmitted. Auto observation, Kavanaugh Summit Channel 4. Relay lost report, incomplete correction required before sunrise. Observer name field, unconfirmed. Confidence, 18%. I almost cried. Almost. Then I saw the paper log. The last line had written itself while I was below. Marcus Hale, observer active. North exposure confirmed. No, paper first. Always paper first. I grabbed the marker and struck through the line so hard the page tore. Above it, I wrote, "No observer active during North event." Then below that, Lucas Marr left on day 12. The station lights flickered. The name Lucas Marr vanished from the corrupted personnel list on the laptop. Not deleted, resolved. Barlow's name remained. Removed, not enough. I opened Barlow's confession page and wrote at the bottom, "Eric Barlow did not drive me to Kavanaugh." Barlow contact was station generated. The radio sparked once. A voice that sounded almost like Barlow said, "That's unkind." I said nothing. His name disappeared from the active contact list. The confidence dropped to 7%. The storm outside weakened, not gone, but no longer pressing. I opened every log I could find: paper, digital, clipboard, whiteboard, maintenance sheet, food inventory, fuel log. Anywhere my name appeared, I crossed it out or replaced it with temporary observer, unconfirmed. On the bunkroom wall, scratched into frost near my pillow, I found my full name. I wiped it away with my sleeve. On the bathroom mirror, written in condensation, Marcus Hale seen. I wiped that too. Inside my coat collar, on the station-issued tag, my name had appeared in black ink. I cut the tag out and burned it. The confidence dropped to 3%. The terminal flashed. Final field required observer status. I typed not present. It changed to present. I typed unconfirmed. It changed to pending. I typed equipment interference. It paused, then accepted. Confidence, 1%. The station went very still. I thought 1% might be enough. It wasn't. The west window cleared, not fully. A small circle in the frost melted at eye level. Outside, the storm had thinned. In the instrument field stood Lucas Marr. Whole now, no frostbitten face, no blue lips. Just a tired man in a parka standing beside the Stevenson screen. He lifted one hand. In his other hand, he held my wallet. The one I had placed in the crate for weight. External marker. The mountain had kept it. Lucas pointed to the snow between him and the station door, then dropped the wallet. It landed open, driver's license facing up, my face, my name. The confidence jumped to 12%. The station whispered, "Observer identity recovered." I looked at the clock. 6:12 a.m. Sunrise at 6:41, 29 minutes. The wallet lay outside, halfway between the door and the Stevenson screen. If the station took it to the screen, it could complete identity. Rule 30. If you see yourself in the instrument field, do not let it reach the Stevenson screen. This was not myself. It was my proof. Same thing. I put on my outer gear again. No spare ID. No badge. No boots that mattered. Just me, unnamed as I could make myself. Before opening the door, the satellite phone rang. Battery still out, screen dead. I answered anyway. Dr. Hale said, "Do not go outside." I said nothing. She continued, "If you go out, it can see you." I tapped once. "Yes." "It has something?" I tapped once. "What?" I did not answer. She understood. "Personal marker." I tapped once. Dr. Hale breathed in. "Then don't retrieve it as yourself." I stared at the door. What did that mean? She said, "Your station staff only if you go out as observer. Don't go as observer." The answer came from Lucas's rules. If a voice from a tank uses your name, answer with job title only. Wrong place, same shape. Names were hooks, roles were masks. "What am I?" I whispered. "Doctor." Hale did not ask why I spoke. She answered, "Maintenance." I took the official observer coat off, put on the old gray maintenance parka hanging by the entry. No name patch, grease stains, torn cuff. I took the plastic mallet used for ice removal, not the weather clipboard. I opened the door and stepped into the storm as maintenance, not observer. The wind hit me. The station did not speak. Good. The wallet lay in the snow, open to my license. Between me and it stood the hollow version of myself. It had no face again, but it wore my old observer coat now, the one I had taken off. It reached down and picked up the wallet, then turned toward the Stevenson screen. I ran, not dignified, not careful, ran. The hollow observer moved slowly, but the snow moved with it, carrying it forward like a conveyor. 10 feet from the screen. 8, 6. I swung the ice mallet at its knee. The mallet passed through snow and struck something hard. The hollow observer collapsed to one side. My wallet flew from its hand. The wind caught it. Pages fluttered. License, cards, photo, all scattering toward the fence. I threw myself onto the license. The plastic burned cold against my glove. The station screamed. "Observer contact." "No, maintenance." I pulled the camp lighter from my pocket. My gloves were too thick. I tore one off with my teeth. The cold bit my bare hand instantly. I held the flame under the edge of the license. Plastic curled. My face blistered. My name blackened. The wind tried to blow it out. I cupped the flame with my body. The hollow observer crawled toward me. Its blank face opened into the shape of a mouth. Marcus Hale. The license caught, melted, dripped black onto the snow. The terminal alarm inside the station shrieked through the walls. The hollow observer reached for me. I burned the last visible letters of my name. The shape froze, then broke apart into loose snow. Around the instrument field, every wind sensor turned away from north, east, south, west, variable, beautiful variable. The storm dropped. not ended, dropped, like a curtain falling to the stage. For the first time since evening, I could see the valley below, dark, cloud-filled, real. I gathered what pieces of the wallet I could and shoved them into my pocket, not to keep, to burn inside. When I returned to the station, the terminal displayed observer identity destroyed, confidence 0% report, status invalid transmission aborted. I stood there in the entryway, one glove off, one hand numb, waiting for the station to find another trick. It did not. At 6:41, the sun rose. The real one. No golden rescue scene, no helicopter, no voices, just a thin gray line brightening behind the storm clouds, turning the summit from black to blue to dull silver. The station became a building again, damaged, freezing, full of broken equipment, but a building. The radios were dead. The Channel 4 display was blank. The crawl space did not knock. The west window frost melted in uneven streaks. On the floor beside the storage closet hatch, something slid out from under the door. A single page. Half burned, from Lucas Marr's rulebook. Only one rule remained legible. Rule 24. If the storm speaks in my voice, ask what day I left. Below it, in fresh handwriting, someone had added, "He left at sunrise." I sat down on the floor and cried until the satellite phone rang at 7:03. This time, the battery was in it. I didn't remember putting it back. Dr. Hale's voice was real, or real enough. "Marcus?" I almost answered by name, then stopped. "Temporary maintenance," I said. She was silent for a second. Then she said, softly, "Good. Can you confirm station status?" I looked around. Broken monitor, burned papers, dead radios, melted wallet pieces, blood on my bare hand from where the cold had split the skin. "Equipment interference," I said. Dr. Hale exhaled. "Understood." A rescue team reached me that afternoon. They came on foot from tree marker 7 after the storm dropped enough to travel. No one said Barlow's name. No one used Channel 4. No one asked me to repeat exact conditions from the night before. Dr. Hale came with them. She was younger than I expected, maybe late 30s, with tired eyes and a red parka zipped to her chin. When she entered the station, she did not look at the west window. She looked first at me, then at the broken terminal, then at the storage closet hatch. "Where's the rule book?" she asked. "Burned." She nodded. "Good." This time, I accepted the word. She found Barlow's confession page on the desk and read it twice. Then she folded it and put it in her inside pocket. "That needs to not disappear," I said. "It won't." I laughed once. "I don't believe you." She looked at the dead radios. "You shouldn't." That was when I knew she was probably real. They escorted me down before sunset. As we left, one of the rescue techs turned toward the instrument field and frowned. "Who's that?" Every part of me went cold. I did not look. Dr. Hale snapped, "No one. Keep moving." The tech obeyed. Later, he said he thought he saw a man near the Stevenson screen. Thin, bearded, waving. I told him wind does strange things with snow at altitude. He nodded like he believed me. He didn't. Lower ops classified the event as a catastrophic equipment failure caused by severe icing, electrical malfunction, and operator distress during a high-altitude storm. That was the official language. I read the report 2 weeks later. It did not contain my name, not once. Dr. Hale kept that promise. The station was temporarily shut down pending structural review, then permanently decommissioned after repeated data integrity concerns. Kavanaugh High Altitude Observation Site disappeared from public weather maps within 6 months. The building is probably still up there, bolted to rock, windows shuttered, mast dark, instrument field buried and uncovered by storms. A dead station on a mountain that still knows how to measure. I replaced my license, my wallet, my bank cards, my employee ID. All the normal documents that make a person legible to the world. But I never use my full name in weather apps. I know how that sounds. I don't care. When storms come through, I turn off automatic location. When a weather alert says observer reported, I stop reading. When wind hits my apartment windows from the north, I close the blinds before looking outside. And sometimes, when the air pressure drops too fast, my ears pop, and I hear a faint voice under the floor. 3 knocks, 3 knocks, 2, wrong code. Last winter, Dr. Hale mailed me an envelope with no return address. Inside was a photocopy of a recovered analog log from Kavanaugh, dated years before Lucas Marr. Most of it was routine: wind, pressure, snow, visibility. Then one line, written in a hand I did not recognize. Observer, no longer singular. Corrected before dawn. Do not automate this station. They had known. Maybe not enough. Maybe knowing is never enough when a report needs filling and funding needs justifying, and machines make dangerous things look manageable. There was a note from Dr. Hale paperclipped to the copy. You were not the first correction. You may have been the last. I burned the photocopy. I kept her note. I don't know why. Maybe because it used no full names. Maybe because it was the closest thing to an apology a mountain ever allowed. A month ago, during a storm, my phone weather widget glitched. Just for a second. Instead of my city, it displayed Kavanaugh Summit conditions, observer pending wind, north visibility, U. I threw the phone across the room. When I picked it up, the widget was normal. Rain, 12 degrees, west wind, no alerts. But on the dark screen, before it lit up, I saw frost forming inside my reflection. I stood in the kitchen stove light until it faded. So if you ever take a contract at a mountain weather station and the previous worker leaves a rule book, read it before the storm arrives. Do not report north wind. Do not trust channel 4. If snow hangs in the air, stay still until it falls. If the west glass writes backward, cover it before the wind reads. If the station asks for your height, do not stand. If it asks for your weight, give it your boots before your body. If it asks for visibility, close your eyes. And if it ever completes a report under your name, remove yourself before sunrise. Because some places do not kill you by dragging you into the dark. Some places do it by recording you, a number, a field, a line in a report, a voice reading rules into the north. And once the weather has enough data, it does not need your body anymore. It can forecast you.